A lot of people that are building AI chatbots and creating these custom AI agents to sell to businesses typically create them with a version of prompt customization or prompt engineering. This is incredible because you can essentially train an AI agent with instructions in English to get their appropriate response. Now, this works in most scenarios where you have a question and an answer, and in certain other complicated examples like being able to do minor level reasoning or calculations, all the things that we have come to realize as the standard features of using ChatGPT or pretty much any AI application that's out there. I talk with many agencies on a weekly basis who are actually building and creating these AI agents for businesses. And one of the most common recurring questions that has come up in the last couple of weeks and months has been, how do we extend the functionality of these AI agents beyond what we can do within the prompt? ChatGPT released their version of this with their custom GPTs. So for example, you could go to ChatGPT and you could create a custom GPT, and then you could configure it to create a custom action, which would be able to interface with third-party code to be able to take data in from the user, have the code be able to process that data in a certain way for a specific use case, and then return all of the results back to the user inside the AI chat. And this is what really opens the floodgates in terms of creating unlimited possibilities or functionality with each individual AI agent. Now, this is all great and good because ChatGPT has it, but for those of us who are trying to build and sell this stuff to businesses, trying to sell them on a custom GPT is just not going to do it. However, being able to sell them on a customized chat widget that can go on their website, behind their WhatsApp, behind their Facebook Messenger, all their social media accounts, and have it have custom functionality so it extends its ability to do things. For example, being able to get inventory from a Shopify store, getting the current stock price from a company, or even getting the current weather from a local city. These are all examples of how the AI agent doesn't inherently have access to live weather data or live stock price data. But through these AI custom functions, we can add third-party code that can be executed and then have the results be returned back to the AI agent. And in this case, we're going to be building these all on Stammer AI. This instantly extends the functionality to be able to do a bunch of different things. It's a user and an AI agent conversation, just like normal. The user sends a message to the AI agent and the AI agent can send its response. The difference here with an AI custom function is we're going to be able to tell the AI agent when to run this custom function based off of the prompt. So as the user's message is received by the AI agent, that information is going to be extracted from the conversation, and that data is going to be sent from the conversation to the code to be executed on that custom function for whatever it may be. Now, it's possible that this code could also have a third-party connection to another API. This is the connection that you can make to other resources or databases, like being able to find order data from your Shopify store or accessing a public API that has all the weather data. While many of these custom actions have third-party APIs, it's not actually required because there could be certain scenarios where you just need the code to execute a certain function, like being able to execute a custom formula with a different amount of custom variables. And the benefit of doing this on Stammer AI and not any other platform is you can now sell this as your own software. And because you're creating and writing code, you now have your own custom IP that you can then sell to businesses for a high sum. And probably the best part about this entire thing is you can use ChatGPT and Claude to have it write the code for you based on whatever custom action that you want to do. Because it's quite simple. There's not very many elements that are needed in order for this to work. You need the chat interface, which is how the user and the AI agent are going to talk to each other. We need the actual custom function code itself. And in all the tutorials that I'm going to be making, I'm going to be using replit.com, which is an affordable website that you can host, run, and deploy your code all in the cloud. So that way, when you deploy it, you can get a public URL that you can use as your custom function URL. And if none of this makes sense, don't worry. I'm going to have a ton of different tutorials explaining each process. There's going to be a full 20 to 30 minute tutorial of how you can build each of these examples yourself within your account and then be able to use that and clone that as many times as you want to be able to resell it to as many clients as you want. So the first example and the simplest version of this one that I could possibly think of was, how do I get the current stock price of a company based off of the stock ticker? And so I created an AI agent that prompts the user to enter a stock symbol or a ticker, and then it will go and get the current price of that company and return it to the user in this chat interface. You can see that I tested it on multiple different companies. If there's an error or a ticker that's not valid, it's going to say it's not valid. And so the flow looks very similar to the example I showed previously. There's a user and an AI agent conversation, just like this. the user is going to send what's the stock price of Meta. The AI agent knows that it needs to extract that data, the ticker of Meta, because that data is what's going to be sent to the code. Now, this code will take the user's input of Meta, and then it's going to request the stock price from the Alpha Vantage API. Now, the Alpha Vantage API is a public and free API that has all current stock price data. So I'm basically telling, hey, Alpha Vantage, what's the current price of Meta? And then it instantly responds, hey, the current price of Meta is, in this case, $489.77. And that information is going to get tracked back through Alpha Vantage, back through our code, back to the AI agent, at which point it's going to formulate it into its answer and response and make it look pretty like this. Then it's going to send the response. And so behind the scenes, this is all happening seamlessly while the user is having the conversation. And the cool part about this is all the code that was written for this function was created by ChatGPT. That'll be in a separate video. This example was quite cool because I was able to easily replicate it and change it into a different version where now I wanted to get the current weather from a city. So it's set up in a very similar way. There's a user AI conversation where it says, hey, I want to get the weather of this city. It passes that data to the API. In this case, we're using weatherapi.com. It's then going to return all of the information. That code is going to execute and return back the answer, at which point the AI agent will formulate it into its response and make it look nice. And this is exactly how most custom functions will work. But what happens when we try to go a step further? What happens if we don't try to access a public API with public data? What if we try to access data that is private or behind a store, like a Shopify store? Because Shopify is a protected database, essentially, with customer data, we need to be able to create a custom app within Shopify that is then given different permissions of the Shopify API, at which point it will then know whatever permissions that we give it. And in this example, we're doing inventory. So we can have it know all of the current inventory of any product on the Shopify store. And in this scenario, the user can ask, hey, I want to know what the current inventory is of this product. And the system will be able to return the current inventory based off of what it finds inside Shopify. And so while this is a little bit more advanced of a tutorial, it still is the same exact flow. Data comes in from the user. It then hits the API to get more data. It then returns the information, inventory quantity 12. And then all of that information is summarized and sent back to the user inside a nice and clean conversation. So the cool thing about this is once these custom functions are created, this chat conversation can happen anywhere. It could happen inside the chat widget on a website. It could be done in WhatsApp or Facebook, like I mentioned earlier, or it could be done through the API, which then opens up a whole new world of opportunity in terms of where you're actually going to connect and place this AI agent to be able to talk with users. So AI custom functions are going to be the future of how you extend the functionality of your AI bots. I'm going to be creating multiple different tutorials with all the different use cases. So please leave a comment down below if you have a use case that you'd like for me to build, and I'll definitely take a look and try to figure out if I can make it work. I'm super hyped on all this custom function stuff. So definitely join the Discord. Let me know how it goes with your testing and creation and all the stuff that you guys are going to make. Super excited to see. And I'll talk to you guys next one. Thanks.